Hello, everybody. Tom Russo again here with In a Blink of an Eye, and I am so glad that you have joined us. You know, life is precious, and I think we would all agree. But often we find that we take the very things that we do every day in life for granted until something happens in a blink of an eye. So, this is where we discuss stories from ordinary people whose lives are changed in an instant and how they overcome through faith, courage, and determination. And I want you to join me on this podcast for uplifting stories of how people face various challenges and learn to not only survive, but thrive. In a Blink of an Eye is sponsored by tradingcardsmarketplace.com. Discover, connect, collect. That's tradingcardsmarketplace.com. Well, folks, I got to share something with you. This is my 30th episode, and I am so excited to have Charles Shapero with us today. And Charles, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Charles, we met on Facebook, literally on Facebook, on I believe a Park West art group is probably how we met. And as my listeners know, I've met a lot of people on Facebook. I'm pretty gregarious and get out there and talk to people, and I look for people that share this joie de vivre. And I don't know if I've ever met anybody that carries that more than you and your lovely wife. And it drew me to talk to you and to engage with you. So before we get started on our story, I'm going to throw it to you to kind of tell us some background as to where you grew up and schooling and family and all that. So take it away, Charles.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me on today. I grew up in the wonderful state of California. I lived in Orange County for the first 34 years of my life. I was born, raised, schooled, and it's there that I became a CPA. Very good profession.
Yes.
I loved living in Southern California. I mean, the weather can't be beat, but there are reasons to leave California, like the high cost of living. Plus, I was working for the 11th largest CPA firm in the nation, and they were working me to death. I had a wife and I had 2 kids at the time, and I said, this is nuts. I'm working to pay a mortgage. I'm working to pay these bills. I'm not having enough time with my family because I'm working around the clock for a very large CPA firm. This is crazy. So in 2004, I made the decision. I was 34 years old. I made the decision to move to Clearwater, Florida. And I figured California has Disney, Florida has Disney, Universal, beaches. It's almost the same. But when you go to look at housing, it's a buy one, get one free sale. It was fantastic.
Well, you ought to try Texas. It's buy one, get 3 free there. Here the real estate market's really unbelievable here.
Now, Texas is another one of my favorite states. This is going to sound funny coming from someone who chose Florida, but Texas is just too darn hot.
Yeah, we talked about that off camera. I understand that. I live it.
I love it. Well, I when I went to Florida, I ran screaming from the big CPA firm. I didn't want to work for a big CPA firm. So I chose one of the smallest firms I could find. It was a single office firm. I made an agreement with them that within 5 years, I'd become partner. And unfortunately, that little firm got bought up by the 34th largest firm in the nation.
So there you are in big corporate world again.
It's crazy. It's like I got sucked back, but at least I was living in Florida, so I didn't mind.
Well, I can empathize with those big buyouts. I was a banker for 32 years. And so
Gotcha.
I can't tell you the number of banks that I worked for because it seemed like every year somebody bought somebody else out. And, it was crazy. So if anybody can empathize with you, I can, my friend.
Well, the merger wasn't so bad. I got to train a bunch of staff and it was great. But the firm didn't keep its promise. It's like, well, we didn't promise you'd make partner within 5 years. They did, and they don't exist anymore. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
I can understand that.
Yeah. So in 2011, I walked out, no job, and decided to form my own little firm. to do accounting and tax work. And I did that for several years in Clearwater. But as I got older, I decided that 7 months of summer really wasn't something that I wanted to do anymore. And, I may look 25, but as you get older, your ability to ride a roller coaster and not have it screw up the day because you feel like crap the rest of the day kind of changes. So Disney, Universal, all that lost its appeal. I've had a ton of time at the beach, and I kind of wanted to experience something different. And in, one of the vacations that my lovely wife and I took was to Nashville, Tennessee. And we were sitting there having a drink on the patio.
All right, I'll drink with you here. Okay.
Perfect. And I turned to my wife and I said, I cannot believe how good it feels just to be outside. Florida doesn't feel like this. Florida you're sweltering. It actually felt great to be outside.
And relaxing.
So we made the decision.
And relaxing.
Oh, totally.
Just
the beautiful air.
You're at one with nature almost. It's beautiful.
And Tennessee is a beautiful state.
It is.
So after a few gyrations, we decided to make the move to Tennessee. We ended up in Knoxville next to the Smoky Mountains, and that's absolutely beautiful. So I continued to run my practice from there. And after about 3 years and some, harrowing adventures with connecting flights on that little tiny airport they have in Knoxville, we decided to relocate to basically Charlotte, North Carolina, and that's where we reside today.
Outstanding. Yes. And you're retired now, very recently retired.
Yeah, so after running my business for over 15 years and saving and paying off debt and building a nice retirement egg, I decided that I'm 56 and that people don't make it to 56, and some people work until 62, they finally retire, and then they die the next year. And I thought, gosh, I didn't work this hard my entire life to build the nest egg, to build the empire so that I could just die and leave it to my kids.
Right. And so you want to enjoy life. You have a beautiful wife. You want to go out. You want to enjoy things. You want to experience things. I used the term joie de vivre earlier, and that's so true. The joy of life to me is so important. And I love talking to someone who shares that passion. An interesting side note, I wrote a book several years ago called Businesses Like Baseball, and I developed a mathematical formula for building the perfect team in your work environment. And in that formula, there is a multiplier. And you know what that multiplier is? Passion. If you don't have passion, you're going to be unsuccessful in whatever business venture you work at, and I hope you go work at my competition because I don't want you to bring me down. Right? That's my whole spiel. So when you talk about passion, I love it. I zero in on that, and I sense that with you. But I want to take you back to a darker time for you. And I know it's no fun, but that's what we do here In a Blink of an Eye. We go back and scratch some of the wounds to try to get you to talk about something and see how you overcame it. So go back to, I guess, around October of 2010. You were married to a different lady at that time. You had been married for 18 years.
Yes, married to my first wife. We had 2 kids in California and then another child in Florida when we got there. So total of 3 kids. And I found out before Thanksgiving of 2010 that I was going to be getting a divorce. And it's something I didn't want, something I certainly didn't expect. We were going through life. We were having vacations. Everything seemed okay to me. But that was not the way she felt.
Well,
it takes 2 to tango.
It does take 2 to tango. And when you go back to that time period, and as you mentioned, it was a shock to you. I can't even imagine having invested 18 years of your life into something and then having it ripped out over literally almost overnight, theoretically.
It was crushing. and I would have done anything in my power to make it not happen. But sometimes the man upstairs has a different plan. It doesn't matter what you want. That's what's going
Well,
to
that's
happen.
true, and that's where I want to explore this with you. I mean, God does have different plans, and the Lord does work in mysterious ways. There's no doubt. I think both of us could attest to that in so many different parts of our life. But this was a biggie. This changed your life, your attitude, your altitude, whatever you want to call it. It took a toll. How did you at that depths of your depression with it, because I don't know what else to call it, because I'm sure you were depressed, I'm sure you were upset. At the depths of that, how did you crawl out of it? That's what I'm all about, is finding out what makes people carry on.
Well, when I left the household and left the marriage, you're right. It was a depressing period of time. You throw yourself into work, but that's not enough. And I found myself sitting in my apartment, really doing nothing because I really didn't feel like doing anything. And I turned to myself and I said, you gotta get out of this apartment. You have to get restarted. We have to go out, meet some people, go on a few dates, and you know, after 18 years, you feel like you're starting at square one, and you are, and that does not feel good at all.
No.
But you have
And
to.
I
You
can't even
have to
imagine.
start
I wouldn't
all.
even call it square one, because, when you're young, you're in the scene, you're in the. But after you've been married for 18 years, you've been out of the game, and as swinging and rocking as you are, that is a different world when you get out there. I can only imagine. Thank God I haven't had to go down that route, but I can only imagine you're starting before square one. Quite honestly.
Yeah, and it's not easy to restart in that arena.
Yeah.
You go on a few dates and you think that everybody you're dating is defective in some way and that you're never going to find anybody. And it really is a bleak kind of thing.
Well, and I've got to ask, did it make you almost defensive when you're out there in that dating world after this tragedy happens? You've got this guy. I've got to think you have like a bumpers on or something, where you're kind of wait, hold on, what's the deal? Am I right?
I don't know if defensive is really the word. I think confused and feeling like I was the only sane person left in the world because everyone I'm meeting is insane was more like it.
Was there some anger involved with that too?
Anger with the ex-wife, yes, for disrupting my apple cart, absolutely. Anger, a lot of anger, and a lot. Um,
And
I really
frustration.
didn't. Yes, working for the bigger firm, I definitely was not doing my best work because my mind was constantly distracted.
Well,
So
and I think from a blink of an eye moment, I think you almost, in my mind, I can't speak for you, but it seems like you really had a couple. You had this divorce, but you also kind of had this come to Jesus feeling with the big corporation too, where you kind of said, you know what, I don't really want to be part of this big giant organization that doesn't keep its promises, that doesn't keep its overall goals like you want, that led you to go out and do something on your own accord.
absolutely. I mean, I met my current wife in January of 2011, so a few months after I left my homeland, and what that showed me, that was how I came out of it, was I realized that there are some really good people left in the world and that life can really be a dream.
Yes.
When you're married for 18 years with 3 kids, it starts out really, really good. And then parts of your freedom get chipped away because you have children and you really don't care because you're into the children and you're giving up a lot and you don't really realize it and you don't really care because it's replaced with these kids and this other life that you have. So you don't really notice. But when you're ejected out of your life, like I was, and then you find somebody new and you start doing all these wonderful things again, like, geez, going out to dinner, going on a date, going to the movies without having to call a sitter, you realize how great life was and how much you had given up.
Right.
And that really turned it around. And, I'm still married to that beautiful lady today.
And you're still doing all those wonderful things. I mean, you're now at a stage in life where you talked about international travel. We talked off camera a little bit about cruises. My wife and I love to go on cruises as well. Maybe we'll go on one with y'all one day. I think those are all things that you're right. Maybe you use the term miss out on. I don't know if it's that you miss out on it. I wouldn't trade my time with my kids for anything in the world. But yes, life kind of gets put on hold, right? For your enjoyment. Your enjoyment now comes through things with the kids, through other things. And so you go through these life stages, and now you're at this life stage where you get to go back to the fun part again for you, almost in a selfish way. And I don't mean that in a negative. I think that's a positive, right? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Whoa, I mean, we all have those desires. We all have those dreams of being able to do certain things. And when you find that life partner to do that with, man, Katie bar the door. I mean, now you've got another set of goals, another set of dreams. So tell me a little bit now that you've come out of this and you've realized that God did have a greater plan. So as
Mhm.
you look back on those hard times back in 2010, when you get hit with this and you struggled through it, now is it all worth it?
Oh, yeah. But it's impossible to see at the time.
Yes, yes. Oh, you can't see it at the time. You absolutely
No,
cannot.
it's definitely.
But knowing that we do have a God with a greater plan helps me every day. We all get depressed. We all get frustrated with things. I want my wife to be able to retire right now, and she's worked hard for 40 years and deserves it. And I want that to happen. Financially, we're not quite there yet. We've got to probably quit buying art pieces, but that would probably
Yes.
be a start. But that's so much fun too. So and then I'd have to stop buying sports memorabilia too, and that would just kill me. So, I've got so many things that I like and enjoy, uh, and when I find someone like yourself that has that great energy, it brings a smile to my face because I see it in every picture that you post. I see it in every post that you talk about. You're almost like a little kid. I mean, you really are, and I mean that with all great respect because really we're all want to be those little kids. When you're a little kid, you want to grow up, but then you realize it kind of sucks when you grow up. You want to go back to not having all those responsibilities and being able to do what you want to do and go have fun and have the money to be able to do it. So, which is
Yes.
another key thing. One of the things you mentioned about living in California was the economy. And I know that was probably a big factor in wanting to get away from it. And no disrespect to anybody that lives in California, but it seems to me that places like California and New York in particular, probably Massachusetts as well, are just crazy with the economy. I mean, things are tenfold the cost.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine. I see people paying $7 and $8 a gallon for gas in California right now, and I personally don't know how people do it. Maybe you could shed some light on that for me as an accountant. I don't get it.
Well, when I moved from California to Florida, what I found was that since the housing, which is your biggest expense, was so much cheaper. Just imagine, am I paying a mortgage on a $750,000 house or a $250,000 house? What am I going to do with all the money that's left over on that 500 grand that I'm not paying that payment every month? And the answer is you live. You go on cruises. You buy some nicer things for the family. You do fun vacations with the kids. You take them up to Sandusky, Ohio, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And you have more fun in life because there's money left at the end of the month instead of month left at the end of the money.
Well, I always used to say in my darkest days when I was a banker and almost hated every day going to work and punching the clock, so to speak, and going home at the end of the day, you feel like it was a grind. You feel like it was a grind, and while you made a good living, or I made a good living doing that, the enjoyment factor wasn't necessarily always there, and it became a grind. When I became a school teacher after I retired from the banking world, uh, passion for going to work every day, and I made a third of what I made as a banker, but I enjoyed it so much more because I felt like I was connecting with the young people and making a difference in their lives, and I came home in such a better mood. And so there is some truth to it's not all about money. You have to have that balance between work and money and everything. But I always said, even when I was a banker, I want to work to live. I don't want to live to work. And it sounds like a
Yeah.
long journey for you as an accountant. A lot of it was living to work, before you really got this cool balance in your life, when you met this wife and have moved forward. So that's kind of a cool thing.
It was great. Yeah, meeting the wife, starting my own business, be able to make my own schedule. It was a lot more fun. I did a lot of tax planning with my clients, so it was like a puzzle. You can see behind me there's a bookshelf of games. I love games. I love puzzles. So tax was always fun for me. But you know what's more fun? A Park West auction during a cruise.
You're absolutely right, my friend. You're absolutely right. So tell the audience what your goals are for the next several years. What do you want to do when you grow up?
Well, we moved to Charlotte so that we could be very close to an international airport. That way we can fly anywhere in the world direct. So the next decade or two is going to be traveling and seeing the world. We have a cruise next year where we're going to go see Budapest. We're going to go see much of Europe. We're looking at another
That's
cruise
that
where we're going
Viking
to
cruise you
travel.
were talking about, right? Oh,
Yes,
I'm
we have
jealous of that. That's cool.
a Virgin scheduled for later this year. Um, and one of our goals is to go spend a month in the Tuscany area of Italy, and that'll happen before
Well,
2030.
we took a trip to the Tuscany area, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and we didn't get to spend a month there. We only got to spend about 3 days there, but we had an absolute blast. So I know you will thoroughly enjoy it. Just go and have fun and enjoy everything that you see. And I don't think I have to tell you that. But it sounds like you've got a lot planned, and it's exciting when you think about where you've been and where you come from and where you're at now. What's the best advice you would give people when they get challenges in life? How do you overcome that? How did you pull yourself out of that?
I think when people hit the dark times, the thing to remember is that everything's temporary. The good times, temporary. The bad times, also temporary. The way you're feeling at that darkest moment doesn't last forever. So grind through it the best way you can. Try to have some fun. Put a smile on your face. Time heals a lot of wounds. So just get through that patch and life will be great again. You just got to give it a little time.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to tell you another chapter in life that you haven't gotten to experience yet. That I just had my third grandchild about a month ago. So the grandchildren is a really cool deal because you get to play with them, but you get to give them back at the end of the day. So it's a really cool wonderful time. You get to really do that. And I've got three wonderful grandkids. Hello, Nolan. Hello, Wells, and hello, Callaway. So very excited about that. And it's a cool deal. And everything does it is full circle in your life. My dad is still with us, thank God, and yeah, he's a wonderfully vibrant guy for his age, and I love that about him, and we're glad that he's in our life, and it's exciting that we get to see that. He's got three great grandchildren, and a lot of people don't get to live to see that, and so it's a pretty cool deal when we see all of that come full circle.
How old is dad?
My dad is going to be 83 this year.
Yep, same age as my mom.
So
Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's pretty cool that he's with us, and I lost my mom many years ago, and but he's still kicking and doing well, and really really happy and proud for him. I am going to probably wrap it up here. I want you to stay on, but I'm going to wrap it up here. So, if you like hearing uplifting stories of overcoming challenges in life, click the like and subscribe button right down below. That is how, thank you. Thank you. That is how I spread the word. That's how this ministry gets its word spread. That's how we meet great people like this. I need people to like and subscribe. It's not about money for me with this. This is about spreading the word and being uplifting and helping people get through hard times in life, because there's so many wonderful people like Charles and Caralee out there that make life wonderful. And maybe you have a story of your own to share: an accident, sudden loss, PTSD, alcohol, drug abuse, natural disasters, illnesses. In these 30 episodes that I've had now, I've talked to all kinds of people, and we have been through life's journeys with 30 different individuals that have had unbelievable stories, and of all kinds. And if you have something like that and you want to talk to us about how you overcame that, please email me at the email shown below. It's going to magically appear, I promise. And send it in and let me know that you'd be interested in a future podcast interview. I rely on viewers like you to share their stories. Thanks again to tradingcardsmarketplace.com for their continued sponsorship to bring these great stories to all of us. Tradingcardsmarketplace.com. Discover, connect, and collect. Awaken the collector in you. But I want to thank everyone else out there, especially my family, our military, our veterans, first responders who put their lives on the line every day. And please don't forget our teachers and medical professionals. That's private between my wife and I. We're in those professions. Don't forget about us, who all make the world better one person at a time. But most of all, and important above everything else, thank God for all the blessings in our world. We need to just make sure that we concentrate on those every single day. And until the next time, my friends, you know what I'm going to say. Carpe diem, seize the day.